Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each will have a talk about Linux projects, such as a distribution. We will talk about desktop environments or applications. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux, fitness, and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the Open SUSE project. And with me today, I got a fantastic panel of, I was going to say portly, but that's not right. A fantastic panel of people. I have Dale of Low Tech Linux fame. We got Ricky, Eris, Ben, Mike Chilson, Jinda, and Colin. I did have Red was in here, but apparently Ben, did you scare off Red? Were you sabotaging him? Okay, I'm just checking. Well, Jinda probably threatened to rip his fingerprints off or something. I don't know. You know, that's the kind of guy Jinda would be, yeah, with a garage door. See? I know, that's how you get compliance. So if you'd be so kind as to like that smash button, smash the like, yeah, the button down there, you know, kind of help out with the algorithms, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe if you feel like this is worth it. Also, better yet, you can join the Zoom chat, which is in the YouTube chat. If you'd like present your face or avatar and contribute your voice, that would be pretty groovy as well. I really like to have the more faces, the better, and the less I talk, the better the show. So if you have not done so yet, please do the straw poll. It's a good one. It's about how you do your swap space or swap like whatever the swappiness, how you do that, and if do you make any tweaks? We can talk about that a little bit later too as well. So on the docket for today, you might actually have a bit to say. Yeah, that's good. I'm sure everyone's probably got a little something on that. So on the docket for today, we got our open mic night. We got several topics in there. I got a couple of seed topics. We'll probably grow from there, see where it goes. You know, it's an organic conversation today. We'll do our housekeeping. We got a community free pour with a no bail promise from SteamOS. Actually, they didn't promise that this time. Did you promise? It wasn't StormOS. It's some other project you have. Anyway, that aside, Ben's got something he wants to share with Red. So if you would like to, hopefully not run away again. Oh, Ricky has something to say on it too, I think. Yeah, so don't run away. But first, when doing the Linux and tech, I got like a short little thing that I'm going to share. It's nothing all that exciting really, but in my job that actually pays the bills, which certainly isn't Linux Saloon. We stood up a new support ticket system. It's not really new, just kind of refreshed support ticket system. And instead of just being for the IT department, it's actually for the IT and OT, which is operational technology for any of the machines, essentially. I don't know if they use that in other facilities, but basically if a production machine goes down, if there's an issue with the production machine, they can send support tickets and whatnot, and then we can respond. And we're kind of blurring some of the lines a little bit internally as well. So we have this continuous improvement department, and they're the ones that they didn't really ask for it, but we just kind of sort of did it, and to try and improve things, on our own. And none of that's really exciting, but we wanted to give it to them to roll out as, for communication, whatever, but no, IT, you roll it out. So I said, okay, fine. If you're going to leave it up to the IT manager to roll out the information, the way I decided to handle it was, we have digital displays that I set up that they run on little Raspberry Pis. And so HR or whomever will put or safety people, they always put safety notices up and whatnot. But so they'll put picture, an image up that is the safety message of the day or the week or whatever, or something like that. And, it's they have a little birthday month thing as well. But anyway, so I decided I would put up, hey, we have a support email, got a tech glitch, use this support, email address, and we have three different business units, so they have different email addresses. And what I decided to do was, instead of just put up a picture, I took the clip from Office Space when they beat the crap out of the printer, and I made that whole. I kind of cut it down so it's only about a minute long total, but no audio, because I don't want, the music is probably not something I can have, considering the language. But anyway, so I just had then the support email just kind of slowly kind of go through and whatnot. And just so that kind of gets it in their minds that, hey, if there's an issue, email this as well as call, essentially. But so yeah, not really an exciting tech thing. I did use Kdenlive, worked great. And we'll see if anybody ends up punching a printer in the back lot, because they get so frustrated with it. But anyway, that's about all I got. And does anybody have work for, so Colin, you work for rather a larger company, right? A larger organization of some kind. And oh, okay. So do they feed you hamburgers, cheeseburgers, McDonald's? No, that's too bad. Anyway, so if you have a tech issue, who was it? Who put that in? Eris, yeah, you got that exactly. That's the scene. So when you have a tech issue, how do they handle that? Okay. Okay. I was just curious if oh, well, that's no good. Hang on, let me see if I can fix this. What's going on here? Let's try it again. Can you talk? All right.
Yeah, me or anyone, or Aris you're talking about, or anyone.
I think it's working now.
Yeah.
So yes,
Nate
EA
is talking
on
to
Linux.
himself again.
Yeah, I do talk to myself. It's a thing that I do.
All right. So are we all low? Are we? Is that what they're saying? We're all
no,
low?
no, it wasn't. So I had a bunch of different audio channels, and I thought I unmuted the right one, but I didn't. So I messed up.
Right.
That's all me. It's all me.
So
anyway,
these things happen. Technical glitches.
So you have an email or whatever that you send out, or something of that along those lines.
Yeah, would send an email, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's an older guy I work with. He's very old school. He doesn't use credit cards. He doesn't like the phone. He's got a cheap phone, and every time he tries to log in to see his itinerary, I try to save the passwords and the usernames for him, so it makes it easier for him. But it just will. I think the phone's too cheap. It just does not work. He seems to have problems all the time. He just cannot handle tech whatsoever. I feel sorry for him. I've met up with him a few times and helped him out many times, but I've got him to write them all down, but he puts the wrong. He'll put the password in the username box, and he gets it all wrong. I feel sorry for the people who just don't keep up with tech. It makes it hard for them, to be honest, because most companies now are just using the tech, right, to do everything.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess some people are just technologically impaired. I guess there was there was some. I got to be careful how I word this, because it's not likely it'll ever get back to whomever. But I had an incident where a guard basically was having technical issues with their computer. It really wasn't an issue. They just inadvertently closed the browser. So I said, well, open up the browser, like actually talking to them. They're like, what's the browser? Like, All right. Well, click on the
Yeah.
start menu button, the menu button in the corner. What's the menu button? Like, all right, I'm remoting in, and it really wasn't like a.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, but the guy's a super nice guy, and I don't want
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
but based on his technological competence, what he's doing right now for the company I'm working for is probably as good as it's going to get. Like, there's probably not a better job for him, and so I want to make sure he's successful. So I'm doing everything I can to just,
Yeah.
I don't want him to get fired. But anyway,
It's one of those things when um you take for granted everything you know, but when people start asking the simple questions, it's like, yeah, okay, they don't have really much to do with computers probably, so
yeah.
you can take it for granted, but especially the phones as well. The phones can be very tricky for people who are not tech savvy, to be honest.
Yeah. Actually, I think a good test. Now that when you said this, it kind of made my head just go run off into a wild goose chase. But if you were to run Windows 3.1.1, just like in DOSBox or something, and then use that as your baseline experience, like just trying to get something done there, that's probably how somebody feels today about using a computer, because it's just so
Yeah,
foreign.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Good times. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the straw poll. So, Eris, you put together, which I thought was actually a fascinating straw poll, because I wouldn't have even thought of it, but about how you do swap.
I got a few responses. Let me see. Somebody said I use a swap partition running on a RAM disk, and then they put in parentheses kidding. And then somebody else says, I don't know if most distro installers at this point even set up swap anymore. I know that used to be a thing that you always needed to set up when you were setting up everything by hand, and the hardware was much lower end than what exists today. Maybe they just set up a swap file somewhere, but I can't remember the last time I actually saw a swap partition listed. And as far as the results, I'll refresh one last time. The number one answer was for which swap space system do you use? Swap partition with 61% of the vote, followed by ZRAM with 22%, and then swap file with 13%. Tux Penguin got 4%, and nobody picked ZSwap, and there was no other.
So I
Okay,
had to look
so
up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
speaking of people who about tech and knowledge of tech, I've never used ZRAM. I don't really even know what it is. I don't even know when that started coming up into. I just use either a swap file or a swap partition. But how does this ZRAM work, or what you call ZRAM? How does it work? I don't even know how that works. I've never used it.
It,
It's
Can
it, it
someone
uses
explain it?
a part of your RAM is reserved and comprises the information in it, and that's what's used for as the swap space. So
Oh, it's
it's all
compressed.
RAM. It never goes
Hmm.
to a hard drive. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Obviously, there's going to be some delay and compression and whatever, but supposedly because computers are much faster now, you shouldn't really notice it.
So
Hmm.
so
And this became big, I think, because I don't know at what point Fedora started doing this by default. They stopped using
Right.
swap files and they stopped going with ZRAM, and that's also what I think the Ublue systems use. I think.
It seems to work better on computers that are like got only like 3 or 4 gigs of RAM on a small hard drive.
Okay. So it basically uses the RAM direct, does it?
Yeah, but it turns the RAM into a small hard drive, but it's compressed.
Oh, it's
So it
compressed.
can
Okay, right.
rapidly, go back and forth.
Hmm.
With a slower computer to actually write to a swap file, it actually takes
Okay.
longer. So it actually will speed up
Right.
like an older, like you got an old computer with like 2 gigs of RAM or something.
Yep.
You'll notice a big improvement when running ZRAM.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I get you. Yep. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So maybe on older computers it would work pretty well as well. So that way you're not sort of trying to go through the hard drive. But what if you're using an M.2 or something like that, or a SSD? Does it make much difference, or?
Well, then you don't have a really old computer, do you? Then you're probably not running 2 gigs of
sorry.
RAM.
When I say old computer, I probably mean a cheap computer.
Yeah, okay, a cheap computer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got it on
Yeah.
my little laptop because it only has 2 gigs of RAM, and it makes all the difference in the
Okay.
world.
Oh, that's interesting.
The Raspberry Pi I run it on, that's got 4 gigs of RAM, and it makes all the difference in the world. On this bigger machine that I have, this one has 32 gigs of RAM, and it didn't seem to do much. I didn't notice it.
Okay.
Right, because you want to think about what it's trying to do. What it's there for is when your memory fills up, it swaps to the disk, right? It moves stuff onto
Right.
the disk instead of so other things can open in RAM. So if you have a lot of RAM, it's not really a problem normally. But on a smaller machine like Jenda said, it could be really helpful to have a RAM disk.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have, a moderate amount of RAM, so.
A partition is probably much better if you want to do like hibernation. And usually, it used to be that you want to double your RAM so you have enough space in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use a swap partition. I don't think I dip into it very often though. I can't. I'm gonna check.
Neither do I.
I tend to use a partition. However, I also tend to use whatever the distro I'm using sets up for me. I don't argue with them too much.
Yeah,
And then if you're dual booting Linux distros, you would probably want a partition, so you would use it with all the distros, right? You wouldn't want to have different swap files eat up into the different partitions.
Yeah.
So Zoronin says, "What is ZSwap?" So ZSwap.
Oh, there's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one got no votes. So ZSwap is it's a lightweight cache that sits on top of physical swap partition or file. So like that. Well, yeah, that. So like as I have it set up, it compresses pages before writing them to the disk-based swap, and it evicts cold compressed page blocks to disk when the RAM cache is full. So systems with existing disk-based swap that needs to reduce I/O to extend SSD life or handle overcommitted memory situations. So you would use that on top of swap to compress it before kicking it in there, so it reduces the amount of writes to your SSD. That's what that's for.
It's more efficient to transfer information back and forth because it's compressed.
Right.
Basically.
Yep.
And it's tied directly
true.
to the kernel too. That's the other thing about ZSwap.
Seems like that should be the default then.
You would think.
Yeah, well, it's like transferring a folder full of stuff, isn't it? Like if you transfer the folder direct, it can take a long time, especially if you're uploading it to say Google Drive, for example. But if you compress it, it doesn't take that long at all, especially downloading, right? So, which is something I was doing. I had my YAD folder on Google Drive, and I was downloading the whole folder, and it's got pictures and everything in it, and it took a while to download. So I ended up compressing it and uploading as a compressed file. It's so much quicker to download. So yeah, it's so that makes sense as well. What you're talking about, moving compressed stuff around, so much easier and quicker.
So I have 64 gigabytes of RAM on this machine, and
Wow.
but it's still using 10.4 megabytes of swap, and I'm not really sure why. I think I remember years ago, Alan Popey, he made some mention that apparently Linux likes to have some sort of swap space for some purpose. I don't recall what that was.
Well, my understanding of it, Nate, is that it sets up a a swap a swap file area on the swap partition already open by the kernel. So when it gets ready to swap out to the swap partition, it doesn't have to do all that stuff before the first time.
Okay.
And somebody said if you're not using swap, it's a waste of swap. So it can be concerning if you're using a lot of swap, but at the same time, if you've got enough swap space or RAM space, you might as well. Are you talking swap or RAM?
Swap
Swap. Oh,
and RAM.
oh,
So swap space is like
and
your
RAM. Okay.
yeah. I have about 64 gigs of RAM, and I have 10 megabytes of swap space being utilized. And
Okay, it's 10 megabytes of swap space. 10.
just the what I think is just
I'm
so fun
getting
is like
confused now.
there's so much RAM in a system today that like what was an entire application in the 8-bit era is just like a margin of error essentially in modern systems.
Yeah, the big thing in Linux videos years ago was how much swap is it using, right? Because you'd only have like four gigs or 8 gigs, RAM. You'd only have four to 8 gigs of RAM. And if you had 4 gigs, it was like if you're using 1 gig of RAM or whatever, that's huge, right? But these days, everyone's got an average of probably, 16 to 32?
I think so.
I
think
anywhere from 8 to 32.
Yeah. Yeah, I know 64 is excessive. I don't even use that much. But it does seem like at this point, unless if you're running a local LLM or something of that nature, you're not really pushing your machines anymore. Like there's just not, what are you doing?
No.
I mean, there's nothing, I mean, like, so unless you're developing, I suppose, but just for standard users, I don't know. It's almost we're almost kind of like at a point of we're at altitude. You can take off your seatbelts and roam around the cabin at this point.
There's a couple
Unless you're
little.
using sorry, go on.
I was just going to say there's a couple instances where it's still helpful. So if you have low system RAM, like we've talked about, obviously, and you run out of RAM, your system's going to have problems. And out of memory prevention, hibernation is still a thing. But one of the things is the way that the out of memory task killer works is that if you get too close to the memory pressure, and it depends on how your swappiness is set. Like there's all these different factors, but you can get to a point where even if you haven't used up all of your RAM, like the system can start deciding it's going to kill things. And I've had it happen to me where I didn't technically run out of RAM, but I had things fail and freeze up because the system was sort of panicking because I was getting very close to it. And it is entirely possible for, an application to have a memory leak and to eat memory and to, you could have 128 gigs of RAM if you want. It doesn't matter if something's going to eat your memory. So it's really gives the system, even if you just give it a very modest amount, like just doesn't have to be anywhere near the total amount of RAM you have, but there is still some utility to having it. Having a dedicated partition is silly, I think. Swap files, ZRAM, like there are better technologies now that you just don't have to do that. Server side, yeah, I mean, I think there still might be some argument to having a swap partition versus a swap file, but a lot of that comes down to just personal preference, really. But yeah, I've had this argument so many times that I just basically don't even engage anymore. Because if someone is that adamant about not using swap, then like whoop-de-doo, like then don't use swap. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it whatsoever.
It's not my
It's just
concern,
like
not
if
my
I
problem.
want to, like if I want to use swap on my system, I'm not going to evangelize for it, but like I will. All of my systems, no matter how much memory I have a modest swap file, and it's just for that memory pressure, the out of memory task killer, the instance where something goes haywire. Like it's a safety net basically.
Yeah,
And it's
pretty
not,
much. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
So I mean, at least in my mind, at least the way I use a computer. So
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And like Dale, I just like for OpenSUSE, the default is a partition. I just leave it because I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's just I look at swap as a couple things. One, remember the early days of SSDs? You know, like sometimes we develop habits based on certain circumstances. Like I remember the early days of SSDs say don't utilize your entire SSD for wear leveling. You want to leave some open, so whatever. And I view my swap partition as my wear leveling space since I don't use it. And so is it necessary? No, it's probably an absolute waste of space. But I just threw 32 gig in there. I got a 2 terabyte NVMe, put 32 gigabytes in my swap partition, and I call that my wear leveling safe space, which is probably totally unnecessary. But I still
How big's your swap?
I still SSD like it's 2015. What?
How big's your swap partition?
32 gig.
Or file? 32 gig. Okay.
Yeah. Unnecessarily big.
This is an interesting conversation because I always used swap was always the same size as my RAM until it gets up to 8 gig. If you're any further than 8 gig, I just still make mine 8 gig. I don't go any further than that because I don't think it's necessary. But as long as you got some swap for issues that Eric was talking about, whereas the computer might go funny, it needs to have some swap to help it out, right? I think from a technical perspective, yeah.
in my opinion, yes. I mean, it's some people may have never ever had their system go out of memory on them, and some people might face it all the time. So
yeah.
I haven't had it happen in probably 15-ish years. I think.
And I had it happen probably 9 months ago.
Oh.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
It can still happen.
I should say I haven't happened on a machine like my primary machine since I upgraded my Dell Latitude D630 to 8 gigs of RAM, which required a BIOS update, which it wasn't supported by Dell and everything else. But anyway, that aside, yeah. I think I've got like some little like garbage machines that I didn't really run out of memory, but like it became like I was using swap so much that it just basically it's like
really
I may as
selling
well
it there.
Yeah. But
well, you know what happened to me the other night. The other night I was going to the menu of I can't remember what I was in, but I went to the menu and I opened something up and I thought my computer had crashed. But what happened was it opened a little box in the other window and I did not see it. And I was clicking everywhere and trying to close, and I thought my computer's crashed, and the little box was sitting on the window on the other side. I thought, oh, you idiot.
Yeah, the clipboard manager that comes with Mint does that. If you say clear down in the bar, it'll pop up a tiny little window that says OK or cancel, and it'll submarine behind the other windows, and then you can't click anything, and you're like, what the heck happened? Yeah.
Oh.
Bad UI design. Oh my.
Speaking of Windows going off into no man's land, I've had that happen a lot in Windows 11 lately, like where things just kind of open up in a weird, like just off screen.
Right.
Has anyone experienced that in the Windows?
Have you ever had that happen with specifically LibreOffice? That happens to me on Windows all the time. For some reason, LibreOffice opens up in the very top left corner as like a 6-pixel little thing. You got to
yes, you're right.
You know what I mean? And it says it's open.
I know what you mean.
Clicking it, and you're like, where the heck is it? And it's this little tiny thing.
Yeah, that's happened to me too. Yeah,
that's funny.
It has. I don't think it does that anymore, does it? I'm pretty sure it doesn't do it anymore.
This is some time ago, like my early Wayland usage days, so like 2023 or so. I would have it where LibreOffice would open, but like you, it wasn't quite 6 pixels. Maybe it was 12, but just up in the corner, it was visible, but just it was like all squished. I'm like, what's going on here? Is there? And I think I had I set a special rule, like window rule, and Plasma can do that to so it would stop doing that. and then I haven't seen it since. Maybe it still happens, just doesn't happen to me. But yeah, that's annoying. But yeah, I think when something with your desktop environment or your or another operating system, when you open up something and it's off your screen, like somewhere else, and you have to like go into the menu and like do like the move, like move it. You know what I'm talking about? Like we have to go. Yeah. How does that happen? Is there like what traffic cop inside the system said, "Oh yeah, that's okay, just go over there." You know?
Yeah, just some weird geometry. I mean, it's just some very sort of recessive bug that you just to trigger it and to be able to test for it and correct it. It's one of those things you could probably report, and the devs could never make it happen. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I was just thinking of that system you were talking about. Yeah, because Plasma has all of this very granular window controls, and I'm thinking like the regression testing on something like that has to be an absolute nightmare.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm absolutely certain of that.
So I was wrong about the ZRAM on Aurora, which is the one I use, or the UBlue. It actually uses a ButterFS soft volume that's compressed.
yeah, I was
Which
gonna.
is
I wasn't
this-
on yet when I was listening when you said that, and
Yeah.
it
But
would make no sense if it used RAM.
Yeah, because I think Fedora does use RAM, ZRAM by default.
I was going to say, a buddy of mine showed me a little trick when that happens, because you're right, Eric. That drives me freaking crazy when or one opens where the title bar is off the window, but half the window's still there. And his solution was so elegant. He says, use your Windows Manager. And I'm like, what? He goes, and on mine it was like the system key and down arrow or up arrow, and that just maximized the window.
Yep.
And got it
Yeah, there's
back, so.
a couple tricks. Yeah, you could do that, and then there's I can't remember the keyboard shortcut, but it's like a control something, and then you click, and it lets you drag the whole window, not just from the bar. Yeah. So but I agree with you. Like if it's, if the Chrome for the Windows somehow like beyond the borders, you're like, okay, what am I doing here?
Yeah. And Plasma can hold the Meta key or Windows key down, whatever, and then click anywhere and then drag it. And I do that all the time. The problem is if I have a virtual machine, like in my, like I'm running a virtual machine and within, my desktop, and I do that, then I grab the virtual machine window and it doesn't happen inside the virtual machine. So it makes a big mess of things sometimes.
Yeah. And I actually have noticed so I had that Latitude 5290, which has a weird non-standard resolution. And so all the modern scaling stuff, like the percentage, the fractional scaling goes absolutely bananas on there. Like it doesn't know what to do. And so it makes these windows impossibly small. And yeah, basically virtual machines a lot of times are almost unusable because like it just doesn't understand how to draw it in a fractionally scaled, setup. And so, yeah, it can really be a nightmare depending if it really comes down to if you have a non-standard display ratio. So if you have sort of a normal like 720, 1080, 1440, like that stuff tends to scale properly. But yeah, once you get outside of that, it can get a little wonky.
Yeah, speaking of wonky, I know we're Linux Saloon. I should stop talking about Windows. But I had an issue. One of the safety guys said, "I says I can't. Outlook looks all crazy. Can you look at this for me?" And the fractional scaling between like the framework computer and then the other two screens was as such that Windows was using the scaling ratio for the framework monitor on the 1080p monitor, and so basically it was leaving such a tiny area. And I said, when this happens, just drag it back and drag it a couple times because the fractional scaling in Windows is pretty terrible. It's pitiful.
It really is. Yeah, it's actually surprising how much better Linux is at that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So speaking of pretty bad, Adam, how's it going?
Man, what a low blow.
I'm not really
Jeez.
sure what kind of introduction that was. Oh,
Wow.
a little taken
Wow.
aback, I gotta be honest.
I can redo that.
Yeah, let's rewind a bit.
Okay. Speaking, Adam, how you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. How's it going, Nate?
Great. Glad you made it.
Glad to speak to you for the first time in a while.
Yeah. How's your fractional scaling?
Integer, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Integer. It happens.
Nope. Adam's all about the refresh sync. Need that
Yes.
sync.
Yeah, the free sync or whatever. What is this? What
I use the
syncing?
paid sync.
The paid sync? Okay. Yeah. Whatever that one is.
That's going all right, man.
A good deal. Well, tonight is an open mic night, so it's pretty much, whatever goes is whatever goes. And I was listening to Linux User Space today because I actually released it early. Does anybody notice I released it early today? Which is great because as I was doing things, I got to listen to something else Linuxy, which I hope they keep up that schedule. Much appreciated. Anyway, also made for a really, really interesting subject. I thought the first subject was AI summaries aren't always great. So, in all like whether it's DuckDuckGo or Google or whatever, I haven't used even Bing, whatever. If you do a search, instead of just giving you websites, now they give you a summary and make it, So I was curious to ask, what do you think of the AI summary when you do a web search?
It depends on what you're searching for. So I think some topics lend themselves well to a sort of a,
distillation
verbose kind of, like sort of verbose, text answer. And some things are you're taking a pretty big chance just accepting something at face value. Anecdotal type things I think are pretty solid when it comes to AI summaries, and it also not all AIs are built the same, and so it's very conditional. But yeah, that's I've sort of been reading a lot and thinking a lot about where AI fits in and like how even just for myself, like how it works, how it helps. Like, so DuckDuckGo in particular for me does this search assist thing, and that's its AI powered search result. Now, the thing I like that it does is it gives me a specific reference. So where did it get this information from? And if I want, I can click more and it kind of drills down and gives me more information, sort of more supporting information. And also, again, more information about where it's getting this from. So things like that and like Perplexity, like certain AI systems that give you that type of information, I feel a little more comfortable with. But things that are just, here's an answer, and you have to just trust that it's, is what it is. I was just having this conversation last week, actually. The reason I like DuckDuckGo so much and the way that they've incorporated AI, I think I was talking to Leo about this, is that they do have, and you don't have to use the search assist. It's there. If you want to use it, you can say, get out of here. Don't ever, show this again. And then you get your links below, and none of them are sponsored links or, it's like how I guess Google was 10 years ago or something. And that's, that's why it's so useful to me, because I get both. I can see the sort of verbose, description of an answer. I can choose to drill down more on that, but if I feel like it's not a solid, answer that's really helpful, or if I have any question about it, then just below it, I've got all of the normal, links. So
search criteria, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why to me personally, DuckDuckGo does the best job of giving me the best of both, because I think Duck AI is a good implementation of some different open source models, and without a very strong commercial tie. It's more about being useful than it is about making ad revenue or search engine placement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why it works best for me. But I think a lot of people like Brave's implementation, and they have a Leo search engine. There's, each sort of, and this idea that like every search engines are just changing, right? They're not, I don't know that there'll be any of them that are going to just be the way they were. I mean, I'm sure there will be specialty ones. And that's the thing, like when we say search engines, like most of us are talking about the most common and like the generalist like web search engines. Whenever in reality, I mean, there are probably thousands of specialized search engines that are very specific to academia or, like, and so it's all in what your needs are. There are paid options, which a lot of people seem to be interested in, actually the concept of maybe paying for a search engine. But in terms of just like accepting an answer, this is one other thing. Sorry, I know I've been talking a lot, but Leo and I kind of got into this, where what is the expectation for an AI response, right? You can just as easily get a BS answer from some stupid blog where somebody just wrote the wrong thing, right? So the idea is like the links that are there may not be any more accurate than the AI result is. It all comes down to critical thinking and, cross-referencing. I mean, it's research, right? You either know how to do it properly and are, confident in the result you get because you've done the work to get it, or you just blindly accept what's thrown at you. And I think the problem that a lot of people have with AI today is that a lot of people will just take that at face value, and then if there's any hallucination in it or misinformation or whatever, then that's problematic. So, um,
Well, for me,
yeah, go
yeah,
on.
go on. For me, I've found that when I've got issues, and when I'm doing things, if I'm making like a bash script or something like that, and I need to know something, I don't always have it in my head how to do it. So I've got to sort of do a quick lookup or whatever. So, and if I have come up with a problem with Arch or something as well, I've found that using with the AI that comes up first, it's very accurate, because I used to go trolling through other people's forums and stuff to get an answer, right? That can take a long time. Whereas this AI seems to be able to pull that correct information that you need and give it to you in a summary. So I've noticed it saves you a heap of time just trolling through forums and things like that. And on the most part, it seems to be reasonably accurate. I'm not saying it is all the time, but what I'm saying is it seems to save you a lot of time, because it's done all that work for you in a split second, pretty much. So I don't know whether people have experienced that, but that's my experience anyway. And I'm not saying it's always correct, but you always got to look up other things to make sure that what it's telling you, you've got to do your research to make sure that is correct, right? You just got to go that extra step to make sure. But yeah, it seems to be reasonably accurate. So I think it's pull it everything, isn't it?
I would largely agree with that too. I find that it is hit and miss, but it seems like to me, if I need to find a solution to a problem, and it's like a complex technical problem, it's a lot easier to have one of these AI machines essentially go through and distill the information down very quickly into what my solution is, and provide context for what my problem is as well. That's pretty handy, I think. It's not always correct, or it doesn't necessarily always get me the exact right answer, but it gets very, very close to my right answer. Where basically just, instead of spending, half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour of reading and trying to understand other people's problems, and then how I can associate with mine, it's doing that work in seconds.
Yeah.
And gotta say,
Agreed.
that's made me a lot more productive. But then I have to ask, could I survive without this very awesome tool now?
Sure you
Yeah,
can.
because
you can.
you did work before. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just doing something that you knew how to do. I mean, it's like, the argument for an experienced developer using an AI solution to vibe code or, whatever you want to call it, versus someone
Vibe.
who's ignorant of coding, just using whatever gets spit out. I mean, the concept is that, if it's going to save you time, if you're experienced and you know how to do it by hand or manually, then potentially, it's going to save you time because it's bringing things in and what's correct and what isn't. And so, but if you don't know, you can't make that determination. So you're just going to accept things at face value. And at that point, you just kind of have to hope that it is correct.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. If you
know,
have a,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, Mike, you're more important.
I was just going to say, I agree with exactly what Eric said about the DuckDuckGo search assist. I mean, that is it's a good tool if you're just using it like a search engine, right? Because it basically just summarizes what you're asking. And honestly, while I don't trust it 100%, I trust it more than I do clicking each one of those links and having to follow through and try and figure out what's right and what's wrong, because it's already done an analysis on what's out there and come to a conclusion of what the general answer is, right? Based on statistics. So I think that if you're using DuckDuckGo search and you don't have that turned on, you should turn it on, because it becomes very, very handy. I mean, very handy.
And it's pretty,
I have to agree. Yeah.
and it's pretty unobtrusive. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a thing. I mean, and they're even very like gentle about the pressure with it. I mean, they say they'll show it to you maybe once or twice, and then they say, "Did you like this? Would you like to? How often would you like to see it?"
Yeah.
Sometimes, never, all the time. And I think that's a very sort of pragmatic way to introduce a new feature and not like slap you with it. Like, here, you're gonna
Right.
like I think that's the thing that's kind of upsetting so many people about Google search. Number one, what, 90% plus of people are using Google search probably. And so when they make a change, there's going to be a lot more response to that because it's going to affect a huge number of people compared to, I mean, DuckDuckGo has like 2% of the search
Right.
market, you know what I
Right.
mean? So they're just not going to have that sort of, you know, uh, problem with people not, but when I mentioned, where LLMs and AI is providing benefit, something I've been using a lot lately. So summarizing, I think we all sort of agree that we've used the tool somewhere in AI where it had summarized something for us and that saved us some amount of time. And I think for me specifically, a lot of times I go to read an article and a couple things are happening now that are true that didn't used to be true. So you have a lot of people say, "Oh, if you're too lazy to just read it." Well, the problem is a lot of the information that's being produced isn't just a human being sitting there writing it. It's a lot of SEO garbage. It's a lot of, so even if there's the information is in there that's usable that you're looking for, a lot of time there's so much fluff around it. Like, and I always use this example because it's one of the most egregious, but if you look for a recipe online, the recipe is at the bottom of the page. 7/8 of this page is like a person's life story. What their mental state was when they first, beheld this recipe. I mean, it's so ridiculous, so absolutely unnecessary in every single way. That the ones that are that take pity on you have a button to say skip the recipe.
Right.
But the other ones, it's like, you have to scroll and find it. DuckDuckGo, I've realized if I want a recipe, the search assist gives me a really nice sort of general recipe. I wanted to cook chicken, not long ago, and it was like, here's a very basic, recipe for this. And I was like, perfect. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. So the other thing I've been using is specifically it's called Summarize and Translate with Gemini. Now there's ones for all different engines, but specifically this one is Gemini. It's an add-on for Firefox. And I found that when you give AI a very specific body of information, so an article, a web page, it's pretty good and in a very high percentile of good at giving you an accurate summary of that. And the cool thing about this extension is it lets you actually build your own template. So it came with like this weird set of bullet points, and it really wasn't usable for me. But what did make it usable is I told it I want a summary paragraph, kind of like what DuckDuckGo, the search assist does, right? That just brief summary paragraph. And then I want you to give me a list of supporting, bullet points or whatever, facts that back up what you've, summarized. And so it's actually super effective at these like ridiculous, again, going back to the recipes, but not everything's that egregious, but a lot of this SEO garbage that's happening nowadays is just padding articles with more stuff than is necessary to read. So the cries of, well, just read it yourself if you're too lazy. Like, no, I'm not going to read a bunch of garbage that doesn't pertain to anything that I'm interested in. I just want the nugget of information. Well, that's what this does. And it does it in a very succinct way where it's giving me the sort of verbose description and then the actual like detail below it. And I've tweaked it to a point where it's like gives me exactly what I want. And, it's up in the bar. So I go to some long page and I'm like, oh, I'm not reading this, TLDR. And they might as well just call it TLDR. And, click it, get a nice little brief summary. And I haven't yet, out of the hundreds of times I've used it, haven't yet seen it fail to, give me what I want out of a page. Is it possible it will? Sure. But it's also possible that the information on the page isn't accurate in the first place. And it's summarizing something that isn't correct. And it's not its fault. It's the data that you're giving it garbage in the first place.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes for everything,
so I think
really.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to what is your expectation? Because I think when people are like, oh, well, AI is wrong. Well, a lot of stuff's wrong. Humans are wrong all the time. Like,
right.
So do we have this expectation that AI is going to be infallible and somehow know when it's wrong, whenever the information you gave it was wrong? You know what I mean? That doesn't really make sense.
I want to comment on that, Eric. What I think is more alarming than people thinking that the AI is wrong or right, it's more about if you met a person and they told you something, say a few things, 2 or 3 things that were factually incorrect, you would look at that person and be like, wow, that guy's a liar, right? I'm not going to really trust that guy, right?
Right.
But if the LLM comes along and tells you a lie, do you just stop using it? Somehow we don't treat that the same way that we would treating somebody who lies habitually, right?
So I don't
at the
disagree
same
with
time,
you.
So
yeah.
One more thing. Another example was, and this was pulled from a thing I saw online, was a person was talking to a friend who used a lot of AI stuff, right? Like they used it for everything. And she was asking, aren't you concerned that like it lies at all? And she's like, well, mine's never lied to me. Well, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like whether it's factually correct or not is the problem, actually. It's like that it could tell you something factually incorrect. And the reality is that people don't fact check things that they agree with.
Right.
And so your own biases and your own selection bias in the LLM will tell you whether or not the thing is lying in a lot of ways, right? So I think it's still important that people be skeptical of the facts that you ask for in it. But maybe perhaps asking for those facts from an LLM is the wrong approach to begin with.
Yeah. Well, the way you just described that, what I was going to say, and I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it sparked the thought that if you go to ChatGPT or you go to Gemini or you go to Claude or whatever, and you ask it a question, that's when I get the worst information. But when I go to a search engine and I get the little search assist or something like that, it almost never is blatantly wrong. Whereas I've done so many tests, and I every month or so I'll do this just for fun, and I'll pick a subject I know a lot about, and I'll start asking questions, and every single one is wrong, and they're wrong in different ways, which is even more terrifying, because like some of them are kind of wrong, and some of them are so blatantly wrong. And the thing I love is that if you say, no, you're wrong, the actual, the correct information is this, and they go, oh, you're right. You're right. I got that wrong. It's like,
Right.
me
So,
telling
so
you
I've,
you're,
yeah,
yeah.
I've definitely
So,
done that where it's giving me something wrong and I correct it, but I've also corrected it with something equally wrong. And then the response is, oh, you're right. It is this other thing that's
I hadn't
actually
thought to
wrong.
do that. Nice.
So it's there's not a
Well,
whole
so
lot
that,
of actual thinking going on here. Like
yeah, and that's the part that I don't understand, is that people go to an LLM, like go to ChatGPT to ask it factual information. And
right.
that's,
It's using
I've,
it the wrong way. Yeah.
yeah, that isn't what it's for, right? It's meant to be creative, and like when you're thinking of it as an intelligent thing, it's not. And that's where when I see people say that, I'm like, no,
Zoe's comment made me
you're
chuckle.
holding it wrong.
Yeah, right.
So
That AI is comfortably dumb. Yeah.
I think
nice.
Scrub Ghost
I like that.
has a statement about the LLMs lying. He says it's forgiven because it made a mistake. The person that lies is a different beast altogether. So he says my manager's a liar, and will not put anything in writing. I think to say lie is you are purposely fabricating false information, usually to protect yourself. Generally speaking,
Well,
protect.
okay.
Well, I mean, is like when it speaks authoritatively incorrectly,
But
is
does
that a
it?
mistake?
But
Well, the other thing.
I don't know
Sorry,
that
go
it
ahead.
knows. Like it doesn't know. It's just
No, it
It
does.
doesn't
It
know
does.
that,
It
that
does.
that's the
It
whole
does.
point. It doesn't know. It just goes
Well,
for what
Yeah.
it was trained
here's what it
on.
does know. Here's what it does know, and this is the important part. It knows that it's been told you can't say I don't know,
Yeah, that's the
because
biggest problem. It can't not
exactly.
have an answer.
You can't let it say, this is all the companies have done this.
True.
Instead of allowing it to say, I don't know, it has to come up with something.
Yep.
That's
So
where
it will give you the wrong answer or
Yep.
something that's totally BS before it will say I don't know. Because it will
it's
never
been
say I don't know.
told to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So probably not for discussion here, just because I don't want to get into like too personal of what your conversations are. But what I'll do with I happen to like I use Jippity and I'll use Grok and I've used Gemini a little bit, and I think my complaint of Grok right now is it's too informal in how it speaks to you, and which is kind of weird because it's a robot and I want it to be more like Data. But that aside, Star Trek. What I'll do is I will ask it a question based, like they're always usually technical questions essentially, or I want to dig into some like historical things, some like anyway, some like theological discussions, which is actually very interesting because it has everything in totality and whatnot. But what the point is, I asked it a question about a course of action, and it gave me some. It didn't tell me a definitive, this is correct, like this is Grok specifically, but it kind of gave a couple of answers of what may be correct based on the information it was trained on. And I thought that was a really good approach because it was like, well, I have to kind of figure this thing out for myself still. And I appreciated the fact that it didn't give me the definitive answer. It forced me to have to come up with my own conclusion. Does that make any sense? Like it didn't actually give me a straight answer, not of sorts. So that was kind of interesting. Also, what I like is, and I don't know if Jippity does this now, because it's been a while since I used it, but the they'll always give references. Do you notice that they're actually really good about giving references like by paragraph?
Yeah. The better ones do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was actually very handy because then I can actually see where it's getting its information from now, and I like that quite a bit. So that's something that Grok does that I like. So I'll get the get the answer, or tell me where it got the answer from. And also, and maybe I've said this before, but I was trying to get some help with some Teams, like Microsoft Teams, their Teams Room software that they have that they actually ended up just breaking. But I was trying to get some help trying to fix the thing, and it referenced like some stuff from Microsoft, and it started referencing my website, cubiclenight.com, and I thought, why did you reference this site? This doesn't have the answer. I know because I wrote it, basically is what I told it. So anyway, I thought it was funny. So
yeah. Yep. And it is kind of hilarious, like how just absolutely wrong, confidently, right? Like boastfully wrong it can be. And yeah. So I don't know. That's, like I said, that's what scares me about people just saying that they're using, like going straight to an LLM and asking it for factual information, because I feel like that is the most dangerous way to use it.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
Whereas it seems like for search engine use, they've got some guardrails that seem to be making it a little less egregious. So,
well, I think
it's changed. Oh, sorry, Nate. I was just going to say, I think it's changed the dynamics of searching, because I try to use DuckDuckGo, but I find myself having to go through a lot more information to try and get where I'm going. So if it's taken me too long and I'm frustrated, I'll just jump on Google search. But now with the search assist in DuckDuckGo, I find myself using DuckDuckGo more now, right? Because it's given the summary up the top, and I don't have to, because you need to, before DuckDuckGo, the normal answers were probably on the second page or a lot further down than what Google search was, right? But I'm finding I'm using DuckDuckGo more, which is handy for me because I want to use that, right? So
I've heard that assertion before, and I've been using DuckDuckGo for a very long time now, and I still think that Google gives me worse answers. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I've heard people give that assertion, and I'm like, to me, Google, like, I can't even get to a usable answer until I'm on the second page, because it's all ads, spam, SEO garbage. Like, I just feel like Google's dug itself such a deep hole right now that, to me,
you're right,
unusable.
Maybe I'm just used to filtering through that. I don't know, but I do agree with that, though. I think I'm just used to filtering through that, because I think the first thing I do after a search is just automatically scroll down. So, because I know it's going to be there after all the sponsored ads, right? But DuckDuckGo, definitely, I'm finding it better now. So I think that's an advantage for DuckDuckGo anyway. So I'm happy to use that.
I think one of the greatest usages for me anyway, of these different LLMs is the sifting through forums to find solutions for technical problems. That to me is the best. Like, how do I fix this thing? That does a really good job of that, because it's really, you get the first post, here's my problem, and then the first solution presented is not the right solution, and then there's it goes through that, and so it gets you right to the end, essentially. It distills it down the information very nicely, and I gotta say that's super, super handy.
For sure.
The irony of that to me is that I don't even necessarily consider that AI functionality. That's really just machine learning, and I know AI is machine learning. Like, it's kind of a
and it's
like AI is a
system.
branding. So really what we're seeing is that we're applying machine learning in different ways than we had previously and calling it AI. Whereas, like, when I think of the modern, when someone says AI to me, I think large language model. Like that's exactly what that means to me. Whereas like I worked at a company that was using machine learning 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And this isn't a new, I mean, computer science has had machine learning for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, that's not like a new thing. And so the fact that they're doing a better job of maybe indexing and surfacing that stuff, and the fact that maybe that where the LLM is coming into play is that it's giving you sort of natural language access to that data instead of like succinct links to stuff that you have to sort of search through yourself. Like that's the utility of it in that case. But yeah, I totally agree with you that saves you so much time.
Yep. I think the machine learning was like the big buzzword like 10 years ago. Now it's AI. And is it just me, or do you get annoyed by the corporate buzzword bingo? Does that annoy anybody besides me?
I think it's funny because it's
Oh yeah, I'm with you, Nate.
Like AI, and like I was somebody like, stop it.
it shows the lack of creativity and individuality in any way.
Yeah.
Like any trend has to be glommed onto, and you can't make an individual choice. You have to sort of move along with the herd. And yeah, IT is it's a very strange industry.
About 15 years ago, it was cloud this, cloud that, cloud everything. Let's see
Yeah.
what else. What other annoying things have we had to endure?
You try to explain
Is
something like story points to someone who's never worked in an agile shop, and they'll just look at you like you're insane. Just explain
Right.
any of that stuff,
You're not gonna
and it's just
talk
like,
about your sprints and your
oh yeah, let's play some planning poker. Who wants to play planning poker? But like, no, it's one of those things, right? It's like the Vietnam phrase: if you have to ask, you'll never know. Like, it's just, yeah, it's gross.
And to be fair, why would anyone outside of that industry know?
Right.
Because it's such meaningless
We're in it. We
drivel.
don't want to know. Yeah.
I think a lot of people on YouTube now are using AI to create a voiceover, right? I think that seems to be a bit of a trend.
And it's
Yeah.
actually very disappointing because I know my latest like indulgence, like if I can't watch a video, like there's certain things on YouTube I just want to watch. Some are just as well, it can just be an audio stream. And one of the things that I like are these HOA horror stories. Has anybody ever listened to those on YouTube?
No.
They're pretty funny, surprising. But anyway, so they basically just takes from like from a Reddit, r/something, HOA whatever, and the ones that are AI voiced over are they're kind of terrible, and because they don't have any. I'm sure someday it might be fine, it might be better, but they're
no tone.
But they also mess up the same words the same way, and also if the source material doesn't have the correct sentence structure, there isn't the human element to basically kind of gloss over and fix that, and it's really pretty annoying. And then, but like, there's another one that I think the guy's from Eastern Europe, or I don't know, but so he's got a pretty strong accent, but I really enjoy his HOA stories readings from Reddit, and those are actually I like, but I don't know, it's a still thing to listen to. But when you got a car ride or you just can't listen to another tech podcast because you're like your brain is turning into the Borg, it's kind of fun to listen to something else.
I know we're beating AI to death, but I did have one more thing I just thought
Yeah.
of. So on YouTube, speaking of fluff, if a video I'm interested in is like 25 minutes long and could make a point in like 30 seconds, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but if you use the ask option, there's a summarize this video.
Yeah,
And
just get it to
basically,
summarize it. Yeah.
Yep. It just takes the transcript and then uses that as the context, and then it gives you a summary of it. And it is beautiful.
I'll do you one better, Eric. Use it if it's clickbait.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, if you think it's going to be clickbait, just have it summarize it.
Yeah. Well, I like that because then it gives you timestamps and in the way to, you can, if you're interested in that section, oh, great, I'll just click here. Yeah, use that ask feature. It'll save you a lot of time.
But let's be honest, everything on the internet's an ad now. Like everything you read, everything you see, it's all an ad. Everything's a grift.
But you know what? What's funny is I was watching some old like 1950s TV show, and it was like brought to you by Ajax, and it's like so in your face about like the advertising.
Well, that's because it was backwards back then, right? So like the companies, the networks were just like just platforms, and the companies, the advertisers would like sponsor the show. So like I Love Lucy wasn't a CBS show; it was a Philip Morris show that aired on CBS, right? And so like back then, the show was an ad because the people selling the product made the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I just
contract with the entertainment, essentially.
My point being that like when we think about how do we pay for things right in our life, like how do we pay for entertainment in particular, but and it's amazing how much of that the answer can be advertising, and it still kills me. Like, I guess people click on links. I guess people click on ads. I guess right? I mean, they have to, right? I mean, it couldn't possibly sustain itself if people didn't engage with it. I mean, I just must be the complete worst person to advertise to because, I mean, I can count on one hand the number of times in my adult life I've clicked on an ad in a web page. I just don't do it. I never have.
Yeah, the average click on internet ads, I just saw this stat recently, it's 1.5%. So,
and I guess it's just you throw a big enough net out there.
Yeah, the effort to put it out is so little that even that 1.5% is still a return.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, if you put out 10 million to 10 million people, I mean, that's a lot of people that are going to click your ad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that actually I do click on quite a few ads, but they really have to speak to me. So I got like one of those like cameras you plug into your phone. You can send down a pipe or whatever, and it was like advertising me. I don't remember what it was, maybe Twitter or something. And
like a colonoscopy camera.
Yeah, but except for your sewer drains or something else. I mean, I don't think I'm going to give myself a colonoscopy.
I mean,
wow.
We can be introspective. There's nothing wrong with that.
But it was great for seeing where my claw, like where down like in the pipes for my kitchen. Adam. So
I think what I do is that if I see something that I find interesting, I'm so distrustful of ads that I will search for it and then go see if it's a thing. Like that
yeah,
I will say,
right, yeah.
But I refuse to click it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, I was watching some ads from like the 1980s and 90s. I'm like, wow, these are actually entertaining. I mean, I'm just nostalgic for Toys R Us, but they're actually like good advertising. Like it was not garbage. And I understand, like, why can't people make
jingles?
Thank you. I was just going to say that.
It's all about the
jingle. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you know how absolutely pumped 8-year-old me got watching a Crossfire board game ad?
Uh-huh.
Man, yep. Like that game sucked, but like, man, that ad made it look awesome.
It's like the ads you have on your what's your football over there? They have some really good ads, don't they?
The Super Bowl, halftime show.
The Super Bowl, yeah. Some of those.
Or just the Super Bowl ads in general, yeah.
Yeah. I think they're made specifically for the Super Bowl, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be quite funny.
I get YouTube Premium because I was so tired of just how bad the ads were, and on YouTube, like, they're just terrible. But I do kind of miss the Mr. Squatch. Those ads are pretty decent, I think. At least they used to be.
Yeah,
not as good as Mr. Sparkle, but yeah.
Yeah, I've had YouTube Premium for so long that I forget that YouTube has ads. Honestly.
Yeah.
So when someone bitches about it, it's like, what? Oh, that's right.
Well, my thought was the reason I got YouTube Premium was actually because of you, Eric. We were having a discussion about ad blocking, and then we talked about creators on YouTube and how they don't get revenue if you block their ads. And I thought, wow, most of my entertainment comes from YouTube, and so I'm just going to go ahead and get YouTube Premium so that my favorite creators can get a couple of nickels off of me, or maybe a couple of pennies. I don't know what it would be, but
it's a better percentage off of people who have premium. They get a higher return than actual just like ad people watching ads. So
right.
The only one I really miss is the Squatty Potty ads.
I had a cousin who swore by that thing, and he every time I talked to him, he tried to convince me, "You need one, you need one."
He's not wrong, like biologically. But
Yeah.
But they had a great ad campaign. I mean, they would have these unicorns with ice cream to denote a bodily function. It was very interesting. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't. It's hard to just say advertising's terrible because there are standouts where somebody is extremely entertaining and creative and comes up with something and I mean, to Adam's point, like jingles are incessant. Like they're brainworms, right? I mean, they'll dig in. And how is it that like he's saying Crossfire, like how is it that we can remember that stuff 30, 40 years later? Like,
Be all that you can
I
be.
was really pumped, man. I was really pumped.
Be all that you can be, Adam.
Yeah, I didn't, but that's good. Actually, I think the slogan had turned into Army Strong or something like that. Something like that, Army of One or something like that. By the time
yes, Army of One. That's what it was.
So the funny thing is, like when I was in basic training, the drill sergeant would say, "What do you think you are, an Army of One?" So kind of they use it as a.
So they aped him and took his idea.
Yeah.
He got Sherlocked.
Well, the Army slogan is, at least I think it is still Army Strong. But do you know why the Army says Army Strong?
I'd love to hear it.
Because Air Force smart. So.
Is it? I think it's Navy. That's it's not just a job; it's an adventure.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I always think of that stupid joke where it's like, "Why don't you wash your hands after you go?" And it's like, "Well, they teach us not to pee on our hands." Versus anyway. Damn it, I just having a senior moment. I just thought of something. Oh, so, Adam, do you remember America's Army? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Do they still have something like that, or was that just like a one and done?
No, they haven't. Yeah. They haven't had that in a while. I mean, they had a couple sequels, but it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I thought that was very sort of kind of incestuous in a way. It's where it's like,
so it's funny you mentioned that. There was a while there where the Army was actually advertising on Twitch. Like they had like a Twitch channel where they play games and all this stuff, trying to boost recruitment.
Oh yeah, I think I heard of that. Yeah.
That was received poorly, as you can imagine. But there's not going to go off into that because it has nothing to do with this, but like that. The recruiting numbers and recruitment in the military right now is not a great scene. So
yeah, so it just popped into my head.
The part I was going to get into with the whole AI discussion was with these AI summaries. How do you think it's going to have an effect on ad revenue for websites and the like?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because I was really thinking about doing that, because if the AIs are visiting websites so we don't have to, that means we're not visiting the websites and the websites are not getting revenue. So I
think AI is accelerating that. That's been a problem for like 10 years now, though. Like the majority of traffic is like a handful of websites in general that, like forums, for example, all these independent forums, they're largely gone, and people have just moved to Reddit, and Discord and other like these like monolithic platforms that everyone just kind of funnels into. And it's like, how many people go to Vimeo or any other website other than YouTube for video, right? How many people go to, we might be the people who might use another search engine, right? But Google is a verb. Like, so it's these these 5 to 10 big sites dominate all the traffic, and that was well before AI started to come along.
I don't disagree, but I'm going to use one example that I know of, which is cubiclenate.com, where you did, at least for a while, had some ad revenue from people coming and reading the articles. I mean, I don't
Still
know
do.
if that's, yeah.
Yep.
So, of course, that's a small amount of traffic compared to the overall, but like, I think there is still enough niche. Like, let's go back to recipes again, right? You know, so there's still sort of these niche things where, and maybe it's just because I'm old. Maybe I'm the one that's going to a search engine. Like Leo said that I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this. And I don't necessarily disagree with him because like I go to DuckDuckGo, I find a link and I click it and I go to a website and I read the result from there or I get a summary or whatever. But like to your point, yeah, I mean, younger people, you know, it's just not even something they think of doing because it's just
Right.
not how they get their information. So.
Right. I mean, the standard tactic now is to search for something you want and add the word Reddit at the end to get people's responses. Like,
I'm guilty of that too.
Like, I mean, yeah, I do it all the time, but it's like, where else am I going to get the info? Because it's all there.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that's the problem is we've reflexively do that. We, as in like a collective internet people, reflexively do that because we know that that's where the answer is. You know, that's
I don't
kind
know.
of it.
I don't know that I think Reddit is a great, like, I've not had good luck with Reddit, I guess, but maybe just what I'm searching for isn't really great on Reddit.
Well, I think Adam's point is he's talking about the general public. You know, I mean,
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I mean,
the types of us who are looking for super niche things, like,
right,
we're not going to move the needle when it comes to ad clicks and stuff like that so much, right?
right.
Yeah. Well, I think you've
But,
seen this
yeah.
sort of contention between search engines, Google in particular. If you guys remember, well, it's been probably at least 10 years whenever they started including the text blurb. That was a huge deal. Like, so websites were up in arms about that because before that, it was just literally a link. And like you had to go to the site to figure out if it was worth visiting. I mean, if you think about that now, just the idea that that was how it was, what a pain in the ass that was, right? You had to click in and wait for it to load, and you know, because the internet was slower back then. And yeah, oh, geez, is there anything on here I need? Nope, go back, go in.
Right.
So you know, the idea that the text blurbs became a standard, but at the time, websites were livid about that because they're, you know, Google's stealing our content.
And to Dale's point about the AI, like, that is a problem, and I feel like it's accelerated it even further. So while the Google AI mode response might actually cite sources or whatever, how many people are going to those sources? Much in the same way as those text blurbs posted, right? You get the text blurb to answer your question. How many people went to the site that gave that answer? You know, like, how many people chose to go to sites below that? Almost none, right?
It's a fair point because if you don't rank, then your content basically doesn't exist.
Right.
That's been a problem though
and
for
when
a long time.
when the AI response gives you not just the blurb from one, but many things, and gives you the explanation, and tells you the spoilers to the latest Shyamalan movie all at once, then like, why would you even scroll down the page, right? And so it would absolutely have an effect on that.
Well, I think it depends on the subject. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think, what are the last things I searched for? I was trying to find information about some technical details on ESP8266 microcontrollers. And the AI information was general, but wasn't really specific enough. So if I just wanted like a general answer, it's fine. But if I want a detailed answer, it's not really very practical. I guess, I would just use the Google AI for what is ZRAM, right? Or whatever, ZSwap. But if I want a more technical answer, I would dig into that. But for surface information, I guess it depends on really what you're going for. And chances are people, when they looked at the search results, they just saw the headline and probably didn't click on it anyway. So I was looking at like my cubiclenate.com stats just now because Eric brought it up. And I'm getting slightly better views as far as or I should say, slightly better traffic now than it was a year ago. Not stupendously better, but my little crap site gets about 10,000-ish views a month. So
some of that might just be authority, honestly, because the longer your site is doing what it's doing, the more authority it has. Potentially, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And I don't know if that's true or not. But actually, I did use an AI to basically like interrogate like my site to see like is information on the site credible, and actually it said, well, it's not peer reviewed. I leave things open basically for people to comment, so that makes me more credible, whatever. Anyway, that aside, there's some other fun questions to ask too, but I won't talk about them on here because it's just not appropriate for the conversation. So I'm kind of wondering, like, I haven't noticed any. Again, my little crap site doesn't get that much traffic, so not a big deal. But I haven't noticed any dips or anything like that. It's pretty much steady and still like doing slightly better overall.
To Adam's point, though, I think you are covering very niche, sort of esoteric things. And I think that there just aren't. So if you were in the competitive space of like auctioning keywords or terms, like, so whenever you're getting SERP, or ad placements, like you're basically, it's an auction, right? And it's what you're willing to pay to rank for that term. Your auction prices would be much lower because the things you're covering aren't really like mainstream, versus if you're trying to sell gutters, you're going to have to pay to get ranked because there's 10 other people fighting over that same term. You know what I mean? Fair. So yeah, so I think your traffic's probably not going to suffer as much as someone who's a little more generalist.
I suppose, but even though, like, just as a thought, like if I'm going to buy gutters or gutter toppers, I would say gutter toppers near me, and then because I don't care what's in, Chicagoland or in South Bend, Indiana. Well, maybe South Bend.
And it already does that. I mean, so when you're doing AdSense, you're already being geographic and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, so I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens with the ads and whatnot, and if AI, how it changes our habits.
I mean, if you want to talk about granular and data driven stuff, like play with AdSense, because it's kind of ridiculous how in the weeds you can get with that kind of stuff. It's absolutely wild. Yeah.
I don't do drugs, Eric. Chill, man. Quit trying to peer pressure me. Just say no.
Yeah.
Nancy told me to just say no.
That's right. You wanna.
Winners don't do drugs.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Well, just so we don't stop beating this to death, because I want to get a couple other subjects here. Check out Linux User Space.
Crack.
They talk about this. Leo and Dan talk about this. So it's a pretty good discussion that they have, and that's why I want to bring it up here.
I think that comes out Monday, right? You're like a supporter, so you got them early.
I don't know. It came out today on my YouTube feed and not my Patreon. Maybe they made a mistake, but
pirated it.
I think they should have it on Saturday. Saturday works better for me. So Dan, Leo, if you're listening, you're probably not, but if you are, Saturday works great for me. So
send them a Patreon message.
Well, I just upped my Patreon thing on there to become a co-producer or whatever, like not the top one, just so that I can tell them, just so I can actually say Saturday for me. But anyway, what I did want to get to is I don't want to beat him up too much, but Mike, so you released your Marklite Editor. You released an RPM for your application. I thought that was pretty exciting. I was going to ask you though.
Yeah.
How much work was it to go? Because you had a Deb. How much work was it to create the RPM?
It was a little bit of work. I mean, it wasn't as bad as originally doing the Debian, because they're very similar and they work quite similar. So I kind of conceptually knew how it worked at that point, but Same problem about dependencies. You have to go find all those.
Okay.
But
well, it installed no problem. Seems to work great. But can I make a public feature request, or do I have to send you an email?
sure,
Do you have a dark mode?
you know, you're like my nephew. You, you, he asks for the same thing over and over. I'm telling him, I'll get to it. I'm just kidding. Yes. Matter of fact, now that we've kind of got everything debugged, the next release will have a couple of features, and that will be one of them. Yes.
Okay.
It will
Yeah,
have a dark mode.
because that'd be pretty cool. Because would it be nice for this is so I use Obsidian as my primary note taking because it kind of links everything together. But what's nice about this is if I just want to open up, like if let's pretend like I'm working on videos again. Let's just pretend, and I want to have a script open. Obsidian's not really great for that in some ways, but this would be nice, especially if I can, because I can just do like half my monitor with this very nicely and easily. I guess I can do it with Obsidian too, but this is it's very handy because I can just have it in view mode, open up the file directly with Marklite, and I can go from there. So anyway, I just wanted to share that and with you. That was my big thing.
Sorry, I missed what app is that?
It's called Marklite. So
okay.
Mike has been working on this, and I tested out the Debian, and it was fine. But I was impatiently waiting for the RPM, and he created one.
It worked fine when I used it.
Yeah.
Is it one word? Marklite?
Yeah.
.app.
There's the links in the chat there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Chat.
Yeah. Thanks. Do you use, sorry, you mentioned Obsidian. Did you pay for their sync service?
I do not, because I don't want it to go out and about. So I just use SyncThing to sync it around.
Interesting. Okay.
And
you mentioned the automatic. So I really like Obsidian, but I don't use SyncThing, so I'd have to find some other alternative. I considered paying for it, but I've been using Joplin forever, and I realized that there was an add-on that does exactly that same thing that you mentioned, where it automatically finds related notes, and it's not dumb, just like based on keywords. It's actually like based on the content, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, I was between Joplin and Obsidian for quite a while for my note-taking application.
Yeah.
And the reason I ended up going with Obsidian was largely because of how it automatically goes, like in edit mode, it can automatically switch into like the view mode as well. So like view and edit are kind of intermingled, which can be problematic, but for me it works great. And then the other reason I like it is because the way it stores your data, it just creates folders based on the folders you create in Obsidian.
Oh, cool.
And then
Nice.
it also uses the name of whatever they are. So the idea is I can, if I want to edit it in a terminal, just with any terminal editor, or take notes in a terminal, which for whatever reason I need to do that, I can do that.
So they're just markdown files.
Just markdown files. But
That's badass.
the way it names it though is what's handy for me. It's not a strange name. It's the actual name of the title. And so
That's
when
awesome. I love that.
that's actually was really the that, and also the automatically goes into pretty mode, basically view mode is really the reason.
So I have actually I'm interested in this because I have been struggling to find a way to organize notes and thoughts quite a bit, and the big thing that's kept me from things like Obsidian is the fact that it's only just Markdown. Like, I would like some rich data that I can pull from various sources and web sources and things.
You can.
That's why like Notion kind of is more interesting to me. But how would those sorts of third party sources work if it ends up just being a Markdown file?
So I'd have to see what you're doing in Notion, but I do a lot with like pictures and annotations and such right in Obsidian for like how I take notes for when I do a thing.
Right. So
I just copy.
I'm thinking like data set. Like if I can hit an API, get a JSON response, and format that into actionable data, that kind of
Oh,
thing.
I wonder
okay.
if their hosting would allow you to do something like that. Because that Obsidian host, so I think Obsidian just as a piece of software is like 1,000 times better than Joplin in terms of at least the UI and the functionality component. Like almost all of the things that have to add in Joplin as an external like plugin is something that's just already built in to Obsidian. And honestly, the only reason I haven't jumped to it is because I'm just cheap. To be perfectly, and it's not even that expensive. I'm being
Yeah.
a dummy about it.
Don't they have an HTML plugin for Obsidian? I use
Well,
it too.
and see, that's the other thing is for Joplin, I use that web clipper a lot. So
I use Web Clipper a
Yeah.
lot for Obsidian as well, and also
they have one.
Yeah, and also the
Oh.
there's a plugin for Thunderbird too. So like, let's say I get an email, and this is going to be more. This is not just an email. This is something I have to do, generate a bunch of tasks on. I click the Obsidian, and it actually creates an Obsidian note, and I have it go to a specific area on Obsidian and then I'll add that to my daily note thing, whatever. So.
Well, of course they have this. See, this is the thing. I should just stop being a weenie and get Obsidian already. The other thing is the Android client for Joplin is pathetic compared to Obsidian.
I like the Joplin client because the Obsidian client, I can't have it use, well, that's not true. With the Obsidian client, I can have it use SyncThing, but I can't have it use something like Google Drive or OneDrive. That won't work with it. So I have to use SyncThing for Obsidian, which is fine because that's how I'm syncing things around anyway.
Gotcha.
But the point was, of all that, I use Obsidian and I can use Marklite in conjunction with one another. So same data set, different way of viewing the data. And that's why I like the Marklite, because I can just go into it. The way I kind of sort and link things on my file system, this makes it easier for me to open a markdown file to view that I'm working on for a specific project and so forth. It might sound convoluted, but there's really actually a reason for it. And I would say
that's the whole reason for the program is to be like a viewer / editor that loads quickly, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I like it and I appreciate it, and it's another tool in my toolbox. So it's a little simpler than other Markdown editors, which is why I like it, to just quickly view stuff. And then, but if you have a dark reader, that would be the cat's pajamas, and I would absolutely, like, it would replace another application that I've been using for that as well. So
I will do that just for you, Nate.
okay, I appreciate that. I think we have time for one more topic before we get to the community report, or a quick one. And I just want to kind of get some, like, the pulse of the pulse of you good folks here. So also from Linux user space, they're saying, from AndroidAuthority.com, they're saying F-Droid is doomed, but AOSP isn't dead. But there's kind of a huge blow to the custom ROM for developers. And so Google says that AOSP is not going away. But there's some speculation it might be getting discontinued. And then what do you think that's going to have? I mean, so I guess we're going to see what happens here. But this is not, it's kind of been in the news as of recent that there's been quite a bit of, I don't know, doom and gloom over the future of F-Droid. And
yeah, I mean, go ahead.
The question I was going to kind of really boil it down to was, do you think F-Droid is doomed? The Android and Apple will both be totally locked down, and we're going to lose our mobile freedoms. Do you think that's what's next here in the horizon?
Well, I think that'll be true if we see them actually exercising some sort of editorial control. I mean, what they're asking for now, when you look at it from like a security professional standpoint, it's been like a big no duh. We got to do this for like 10 years now. The fact that, it's it is kind of trivial in some ways to just, yes, there is a warning, and yes, you have to turn it on and things like that, but it's just one of those loopholes that for 99.9% of Android users, it's just stupid to let them install an APK, because why in the hell would you do that? So this, from that standpoint, is not nefarious, but if you ever see them taking a stance of, well, we're now going to editorialize this and basically say a legitimate application that hasn't broken any rules other than potentially like got on somebody's wrong side, then yeah, that's whenever you start to question. But in terms of whether or not F-Droid is doomed, the way that it works now, yes, it's doomed. It can't work.
So then, next question going forward is, do you think Google is tightening the screws, as it were, so that there is no F-Droid and they see it as such a loss? Or do you think it's truly out of the position of, we're trying to make a more secure platform that people don't get compromised? Do you think it's more of a dutiful change, or do you think it's actually a malicious? Like, where do you think it, on the malicious to dutiful, where do you think that sits?
Both.
I think it's much further into the dutiful than it is into the malicious, personally.
You think so?
I think if you read what the F-Droid people wrote, I think you can pretty much see that there's probably like no justifiable reason why they're doing this. They're just doing it because they want to, not because it's safety involved. They already have if you have the Google Play Store, it already checks for any applications that are deemed malware, and they themselves let malware into the Play Store, and there's like really no reason for this change, if you're just talking about safety of the programs or anything. I'll put down what they wrote. I'll try to find the link.
See, because my
I'll be
concern
sure
is
to summarize it.
So I guess my concern is, so I do use F-Droid. Actually, I don't use as much as I used to, but I don't also install as many apps as I used to. So there's that. So my concern is locking out, freedom-based, or whatever, these stores that are more free, open, FOSS type stores, that it's going to cause kind of almost a kind of dystopian result with Android, and that concerns me. But on the other side, I wonder if, just like how when Princess Leia told Darth Vader that the tighter you squeeze, the more it's going to slip out, it's going to be more like fragmentation, fracturing, and whatnot, that there'll be that can give rise to a third competitor, or do you think that it's too late for that?
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
So there's a lot of custom ROMs out there that would use F-Droid. So I'm not sure how the F-Droid store works, but if this is the case with what the Google and Play Store are doing, does that mean that even the custom ROMs can't use F-Droid, because you cannot create apps on F-Droid with what's going on here, or you still can? I'm not sure how that works.
So the expectation, what they want to put in place is, and this is very much like a high level overview, is that there's a signing key, and that you're basically going to have like a package that has a signature to it, and that has to be a known developer. And a known developer is someone who's been identified, and not necessarily vetted, but just identified as a person, and along with an identification, state ID, whatever, and then that gives them the ability to sign a package that's allowed to be deployed on Android. The reason F-Droid won't work is because everything right now is signed by F-Droid. by a single, and the liability that F-Droid would take on by signing all these packages and being technically responsible for their content and functionality is, it's impossible for them to do that.
Okay.
So basically what they're asking for, and this is, of course, a way that a corporation could control something is they're asking people to, and again, depending on your, philosophical view of something, having to identify yourself to be able to deploy software, especially free software, is potentially censorship. And so, that's kind of the pushback on this. To Eris's point, do they need to do this? Does malware get into the software store? I mean, the answer is that nothing's perfect. I mean, we've seen malware get into Linux stores and repositories. So, I mean, there's a lot of automated processes that are doing all this stuff. I mean, it's certainly not human beings. So it's not infallible. But I think from Google's standpoint, at least the way that I've read it and understand it, is from a minimum, they just want to know where this thing came from. Because, I mean, that's just the most basic possible, security standard practice is, where did this come from? And if the answer is we don't know, then, why would you ever allow that to just be would you just download an executable if you're running Windows and just run that bugger? I mean, it's like when Windows tells you this is not signed. It'll let you do it, but how many people know that first of all, even know to click the message to get the prompt to be able to sign it or to install it? And second of all, I mean, that prompt is there to stop people from doing something they, in most cases, a overwhelmingly large percent of the time, should not be doing. And I think that's kind of the way they look at this is, how many people use F-Droid? Out of the millions of people using Android, hundreds of millions, billions of people, who knows how many people are using Android? I don't know. How many people use F-Droid?
Probably not a pretty small percentage.
I mean, 0.02% or something. I mean, it's infinitesimal. And so for like that small amount of people to be like, you can't do this, like, it doesn't even register.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think everything will work out somehow. Somehow this is all going to kind of come out in the wash, I think. But I'm also generally kind of optimistic about such things. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to housekeeping. We're rapidly running out of time here. We're going to be a little over, but that's okay, I think. So for next week, it's a distribution exploration, and I was looking at a couple different things. One, we got the new Ubuntu's came out, so the 2510.
Mhm.
So like, could you what's your favorite Ubuntu? Just kind of play around with that, or a couple.
If we did that, Nate, Ricky and I would probably end up doing Ubuntu.
Sweet. And then the other thing too is I've seen a lot of the who's it? Robertson. What's his man? How come I keep messing up his name?
Brody.
Yeah,
Brody Robertson.
Brody. A few days ago, I watched his video on Omarchy.
Marchi. Yeah.
Omarchy. Yeah. And
I tried that. It was pretty rock stable,
So,
and the only problem that I had with it was trying to find the uninstall section. I was like, what the heck is this?
well, it's Arch based, and we just did an Arch based one, so I don't know about that. But
Yeah, so I think it might be nice to revisit Ubuntu 2510.
yeah, I think it might be best. But I thought it's been in the news a little bit, and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, might as well do that. Yeah.
So Brody,
I'm running Marchi on my laptop these days. So,
are you?
It does pretty well.
yeah, it's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So maybe we can kick that off. Do you guys want to do Ubuntu for something next week?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. So Ubuntu it is.
Yeah,
Woo.
I'll be reviewing Ubuntu tomorrow anyway.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That works out well for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works out in that case. Yeah.
So if you have any suggestions, be sure to send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. I've noticed I've been getting a lot of spam messages about my about redoing my website to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. So thanks for that. By thanks for that, I mean no thanks. And if you have any distribution suggestions, applications, or poll ideas, feel free to send those as well. And I don't care about SEO. So we're going to go ahead and get to the community free pour. So you said you had Ricky and Ben. You got you've been working on your own tiling window manager.
Yes. I'm going to let Ricky take the floor for this one because he's the one behind it. So, Ricky, take the reins, brother.
Thank you very much. And first off, I must say it's great to be back in the saloon. Sorry I haven't been around for quite some time. Been busy with StormOS stuff. First off, yes, we are developing our own in-house dynamic tiling window manager. It's pretty much called SWM or Storm WM as its other name is called. Basically, this whole idea came about when we were basically just finishing up our latest ISO, which, by the way, the latest StormOS ISO is finished, and we will be pushing it up very soon. We just have a lot of other things going on.
Sure.
But anyway,
did you say Stone? You called it Stone?
Storm WM.
SWM or Storm WM. It's got two different names, but it's pretty much the same thing. Essentially, this tiling window manager, basically the whole idea behind it is basically imagine if basically i3 or Xmonad or Qtile or say if some of the best tiling window managers came together with the best features and basically spawns a new dynamic tiling window manager, SWM. Basically, my idea is this: take the best features from the best tiling window managers, roll them into one, and then implant this thing into Storm OS, which how we're going to do it is sometime in 2026, once SWM is fully ready, we're going to be yanking XFWM, which is the current window manager for XFC. We're going to yank it out and put SWM in its place. XFC's environment will still be there. It's just SWM will be taking over because basically the reason that way we're going to switch them out is we don't know exactly when the next XFCE version is going to be coming. It could be months, it could be years, we just don't know. So that's why the team has decided that we're just going to swap out the window manager in for our own.
Cool. So I'm curious then, what would you say is your standout, your unique proposition to your window manager versus, let's say, what's a popular one that people like? I forget what it's called.
i3.
i3 or
Hyperland.
Hyperland. That's the one.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Hyperland, yeah.
That's a very good question. I would say the most unique thing about our window manager, I mean, aside from all the glitz, glamour, theming, and all that, is basically it's all gonna revolve around ease of use because most tiling window managers, while their documentation is good, for somebody who's getting into using a window manager for the first time, they're going to find it difficult, to get used to key bindings, get used to the layout. That is why we at StormOS are pretty much taking on the task of making this dynamic tiling window manager easy to use and easy to get used to.
Yes.
Are you gonna have like a little printout booklet for your keyboard shortcuts?
Yeah, we're gonna have basically a little thing to where basically all the key bindings are gonna be displayed. A little hint
Yes.
thing. Some of the key bindings I can tell you is very simple. Mod enter opens the terminal. Mod Q closes the active window. Mod D opens up Rofi. Yes, we're including Rofi in this thing.
Oh yeah.
Mod Z opens D menu. We're including that too.
Hmm.
And essentially, Rofi and D menu, that's pretty much the two ways you're going to get around to using applications in the window manager.
Yeah.
And basically, of course, there's going to be the whole JKL thing that most dynamic tiling, it's pretty much the Vim key bindings. We'll be using those too.
Okay.
Exactly. So this is just basically our alternative to XFWM4 because, like he said, it's getting very, very long in the tooth, and we just need something to sort of replace that.
I think that's
Mm-hmm.
neat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty ambitious, and yeah. I mean, it's something I would never tackle. So I know, hats off to
No
you.
worries. Well, that's why we're doing it for the community because, again, this is just something that sort of has been long coming, and hopefully by next year we will have it ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. We can say though, Nate, that the window manager, it is in its infancy right now. And if you're wondering how I made the groundwork for it, it's basically a combination of my doing and DeepSeek AI's doing.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of a hybrid effort, so to speak.
It's basically going to be a hybrid effort between human and AI in order to make this window manager.
Exactly.
Well, fun. Well, hopefully you don't get into any arguments with your AI overlords as they make it.
Oh heavens, no. We'll be all right.
We'll be fine.
Good deal. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing. It is that time for last call, so we're gonna go ahead and move it along to there. I don't know if Eric, if you had anything exciting you wanted to share with the class of what we got going on.
Nope, I really don't. I'm gonna let someone else take my turn. I don't really have anything.
Well, Adam, he's got lots of cool things he's doing. How's your keyboard adventures going?
Going well.
Yeah.
I mean, typing productively on it. So that helps.
But how are your wrists?
They're fine as long as I'm using it. But the moment I use something else, well, that all goes out the window pretty quick.
Yeah, I think about those like ergonomic Microsoft keyboards, those giant things from the 90s. Remember those? How does that compare to what you got going on as far as like how would your wrists?
A lot of similar principles, just not to the extreme.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting journey that you're on with the keyboard business. I don't know that.
Yeah, it was one that was kind of thrust upon me, but yeah, I'm enjoying it still, regardless.
That's
it's always fun to like tinker with new stuff. So
I think that's the important part. If you're having fun with it, that's
for sure.
Chef's kiss right there. Dale, so you're going to be reviewing Ubuntu, you said.
Yeah, I'll be reviewing Ubuntu tomorrow. Got pretty sick there for about a week, and I'm just gotten over it, so I'm getting back into it.
Let's try to give to everyone else anyone else in the Linux Saloon, because how viruses transfer over Zoom.
Yeah, I don't think it's computer virus related.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's good. Well, good deal. Colin, nice to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
You're once this month of hanging out with with us. Appreciate you being here.
I might try and get a little bit of time to actually have a look at Ubuntu and a VM maybe, because I've always been interested in Ubuntu as a minimalist distro.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to get nicer and nicer as it goes on. So I'm not sure if 2510 is actually including Wayland yet. Possibly not, but just interested to see. it's a cool project that those guys do. So try and give it a go.
Well, for sure. Yeah. I like Ubuntu because it's lighter weight than Plasma or Kubuntu. Anyway. Excellent. Jinda, how are your fingers?
Still here.
Good. Good deal. Well, thanks for being here. Missed you last week, but I totally understand.
Yeah, it was emergency. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. Yep. So I really do appreciate being here, and
I love being here.
Maybe keep it down in the future.
I'll try my best. I'm already in big trouble with Mike, so
I'm glad you said that, Nate. I mean, I didn't want to be the one to have to say it in public to him, but you know,
trying to embarrass him, so he left that up to me. Yep. So, Mike, good job on Marklite. I hope you're having fun with it.
I am. It's definitely been a learning experience for sure about Linux packaging, and you know, the coding part's easy. Distributing it's totally different. Like I told you before the show, I'm in the process of trying to get set up a distribution archive, so you can just add it to your list of distribution points, and everything will be signed and safe and warm and fuzzy. So, and to keep it up to date. So,
yeah, that's great.
But one last thing to say is, yeah, I've been using Omachi about 3 weeks now on my laptop. And I would say that if you are a developer on Linux, you should take a hard look at it. Everything's there that you will ever need. It's all pre-configured. Of course, you can go in and change anything you want, but as you know, setting up an Arch distribution can be somewhat time-consuming, and they've really taken all that out of it. So,
yeah, it's cool,
and it's beautiful too. So it's a nice-looking desktop.
Well, it's good to know. Yeah, I think I want to try Italian Window Manager again just to see how it goes. So we did one.
I'd highly suggest Omarchi, Nate. It's fun.
We did one. It was an Ubuntu-based one that we did on Big Daddy Linux some time ago, and that kind of changed how back in 2019. It's the last time I really tried it, so it's been a couple of years. Good deal. Eris.
Hello.
I like the ghost.
Thank you.
You just got tired of the paperclip?
I was gonna take it away once Halloween comes up by. So.
Okay. Yeah, my oldest son has been doing the paperclip now too. So. Good old Louis Rossman. And Swift, didn't hear from you much at all, actually, but I'm glad you're able to be here. So, if you have not done so, check out Linux User Space. They do talk about the AI summaries, aren't always that great. Talk about F-Droid as well, and a little bit about the YAST and being the last version, and Merlin replacing it and whatnot for software management. So check that out. Linux User Space on Fireside or on YouTube. Maybe some other places too. I don't know. I didn't check that out. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. Check it out. I was just recorded with Wendy and Bill. Matt is in the process of changing his geolocation, so he was not able to be there. Also, a website called cubiclenate.com. I write things, and the latest article I wrote might be the least popular I've ever written ever on the website. It was about how to unbrick an ESP8266 and everything I had to do to make that work. So there's probably exactly 8 people that have needed this article, I think. Maybe less than that. So very unpopular. So if you want to check it out, bump up the numbers, that'd be cool. So Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you for your support. However you do it, being a part of the conversation, both the Zoom meeting here, the YouTube stream, for everyone who watched the show after the fact, thank you. Also, I want to thank everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy technology. Linux truly puts personal back in our personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
See ya.
Woo!